So cool.
Hello. Hello, Tim. Welcome to
Hi,
the DM Deep Dive.
thanks.
And
Welcome
welcome to
to
everybody who's
you to
watching.
Vancouver.
Woo! Well, I'm so excited to have you, Tim. It's been a while.
I
Not
know,
that
right?
long, but a little while.
It's
Yeah,
been a while.
it's been a
Almost
while.
a year.
Yeah, yeah. I think the last time we were together was maybe in the fall, or you were
Yeah,
there in the
last
spring, in the
castle.
fall. Yeah, yeah. Wonderful. Well, you've been to so many castles, Tim. I kind
I
of
know, right?
For those of you watching who don't know, GM Tim is with me today as one of our dungeon masters for D&D in a Castle. He is going to be at our upcoming fall events at Lumley Castle in the UK in October and November, which hasn't, I don't think it's actually been published that you are running Chronicle mode in the
Yeah.
fall. So this is the big reveal, I guess. This is the big
Doo-doo,
announcement.
doo-doo-doo-doo.
And that you'll be the one running our Chronicle mode, which, by the way, is slammed. Players are literally clamoring over each other to
Cool.
get into your game. Tim, you have put together a very enticing proposal, and talking with people in the back end of registration, I've been dealing with a lot of people trying to get into your game. So that's fun. So
That's a thing.
that's a thing. Tell us what you've got planned for your game this fall for Chronicle mode.
What I planned. So I thought I liked the idea that Chris was doing, where he kind of took them through different versions of D&D. But I have no knowledge of other versions of D&D. 5 is my kind of like core game, and now I'm on my own. So everybody can hear me. I'm the show. So my game is going to be I'm sort of thrown off. My game is going to be a mix of a bunch of different adventures from past D&Ds. Yeah, so I like the idea of taking some of the older games and the older stories and trying to turn them into something bigger and wilder and a little bit more like connected. Hi, welcome back. I don't know if you heard me, but I think everyone else did.
I glitched out.
From what I could tell, I was still alive, so I just kept rambling after I got
Yeah,
uncomfortable
that's
and
great.
kept going. Yeah.
Also, in the back end, in the person running the tech, John, running the show here, will also sometimes just put you on center stage to
Great.
take it
Okay.
away, so people can. There's John.
Yeah.
So Chronicle mode is 2 rounds of D&D in a Castle, so 8 days of gaming. 2 sessions of 4 hours a day. So it's a minimum 48 hours of gaming across 2 events in one epic story. And I understand your story is going to be like a greatest hits of D&D
Kind of, yeah.
mod settings.
I wanted to do because it's easy to do the greatest hits because most of those are the published adventures that already exist, right? Like we're not going to do Strahd. Like I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm not. It's done. It's a book. You can do it. But we're going to do some of the others. I don't really want to say what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. We don't want spoilers.
No. I tried to pick some. How would I put this? They're not iconic, they're iconique, like it's
right.
Like there are things about all of them that I kind of really enjoyed from all the different kind of past editions. And so I tried to find stuff that might be a little bit more known but not known, if that makes sense.
You might have heard of it, but you might not have. It's not like Strahd where everyone's played it 100 times.
Yeah. And I got to admit, there might be a little Strahd in there, but I'm just saying, like it's one of those things where it's like there have been elements of D&D that kind of like permeated into other things, and so I wanted to try and tap into those and then kind of create my own little mini adventure about it as well. I mean, every time I do a castle, it has been a continuous story. Like all of my castle events from year 1 have been like you go through multiple levels, You go through character every session. You have a new level, so you get to have like this mini arc and a mini campaign every single time.
Mhm.
And I really enjoyed that. And so now we just get to do more levels basically, and more kind of like expansion of the sort of story and your character narrative. And yeah, it's fun. Everyone gets a highlight episode usually, and so this makes
Mhm.
it easier to do.
Mhm.
Everyone gets two now, right? Like,
Yeah.
or we can do duos, or like there's lots we can do with it. So yeah, I'm excited for that part.
So you, as you mentioned, since year one, you were the first dungeon master to join D&D in Castle.
Yeah, I didn't
You
know
were the
that
first one
until
who's like,
like a couple of years ago.
pick me, I want to go to a castle. So you've been with us all the way through some
Yeah,
pretty high highs and some low lows and some drama and fun, and we've hung out a lot. And those people who were there, in year one, when it was just like a crazy idea, and is this even a thing we can do? We had no idea what we were doing. We just literally showed up to a castle in France and hoped for the best, and
yeah.
played some D&D, and it was there's something magical about that kind of adventure. It really was itself such an adventure. And but then it's grown. It's become a little more stable, but it's still got that magic. But for those we call the OG crew, the people who are there from the very first day, there's something a little special about that. It really feels like kind of like family, like an extra level of bond. But
It
I
is.
wonder
Yeah.
how you've seen it grow and change over the years, and what you think D&D in the Castle has become, and versus how it started versus where it is now.
I mean, like I think for we're not eating outside.
Although the
So
outside eating was amazing.
it was, but we got really lucky that it wasn't pissing rain every
I think it
day.
did piss rain one day.
It did. Yeah, no, it was good. It was I mean, that first one was fun. I like the ones now because it's like I enjoy the castle we're going to know us now, right? Like they're ready for it. They know that well, I don't know if you guys warned them, but they know that I'm going to be running games in the castle. Like I don't run games in the room. I move you around and actually run games in the castle. I got staff to like do stuff to throw dice and play stuff in Be Monsters.
I think I played a queen in your game for about
You
3 minutes
Yeah,
until
until
I
they
was
just
immediately killed by a potion of horse.
it was a really good move. I was really impressed with the players for that one. But yeah, it's fun to be able to do stuff like that. And you don't get to. I did that in the first castle, and it was a moment of like, why wouldn't I be doing this? Like we're literally in the place we're playing about. Why wouldn't we play into it? So I enjoy that. I enjoy that we can do that, and I think that being kind of in a stable place, the castle kind of gets used to doing and seeing that. So
Mhm.
they can make sure that it's okay and make sure the staff know, hey, you'll see people moving around. Don't worry about it, or play along. They'll include you. Yeah, I like the newer ones. I think the growth has been in the sense of people understand it's an event, not a con. And so it has
Yeah.
more of like a sort of a fun style to it that you don't get at bigger things. And because it is a little more intimate, it means that you can actually after your games, you can go and just hang out with your DM if they're in public and not decompressing. But even for the DMs, we get to like have a different experience than we would in anywhere else. Like
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah, it's a cool vibe.
Yeah, we say as the staff, like, we know our guests by name. Like, we,
Yeah,
we personally know everyone at the castle. Their name comes up, and even before we meet them at the castle, like, oh, you put a face to a name. But we know all of our guests between the staff and stuff. Like, you can actually know everyone at the castle, and
yeah.
that's you're not going to get that at a con with 10,000 people or plus. So
No, you'll
it
get it
is.
with
It's
staff at the cons, but yeah, it's cool. It's the guest experience is like nothing else anywhere else. It's a unique thing to this, and you know, despite highs and lows and the lockdowns and all that fun jazz that everyone in the world went through, it's managed to maintain. And I think that says a lot for what people kind of like hope to get out of it, you know? Yeah.
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 So for the guest experience, you know, they
Mhm.
come for a holiday to get to experience, or vacation, they get to experience all of this. What's it like as a DM attending D&D in a castle?
It's one of my favorite things to do. It's a being a DM at D&D in a castle has challenged the way I dungeon master, because
Mm,
or in games in general. Because like, so the first one I did, James and I decided, well, what do you think would happen if we threw our tables at each other? And now it's a thing that I actually like for D&D in a castle. When James and I are at a castle together, we will write that in to create something. And then last year I got to do it with Matt Allen, Nerdy. That was a lot of fun. We got to do our tables together, and I started bringing it to other things that I do, where I actually write the adventure so that it
mm,
accommodates for that. So as far as DMing goes, you get better at kind of like being a fast and loose. As far as the experience, I mean, you're running Dungeons and Dragons in a castle. I can't really say it better than that. Like it's a bit of a mind, you know, like, what am I doing? Like, there's a moments when you just kind of like, you sit in that courtyard and you look up and you're like, and that's all you can think, right? Like, it's wild. Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. I love it. It's definitely easily one of the things that I like look forward to, and try and come up with new ways to write stories and have a nice, tight, good story that you can kind of get a player through from point A to point B. I don't think I've had a table where we haven't had at least a couple tears from at least one or two people every year so far. So that's like not like I'm trying to make you cry, but it's an credit to the ability to connect the player to the story if you can make them emote like that by the end of it.
if the emotions are real.
3 days,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think there are very few D&D games that are good D&D games that don't have some tears. Or it's a thing. I'll say it's a thing. There are
Yeah,
some that don't, and they're still good. I don't mean to,
yeah, no,
you know.
absolutely. That's not what I wasn't saying. Yeah, it's not success if I don't make them cry. No, it's I just enjoy that I'm able to connect people, that they can that they're invested enough
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
and that I can make them feel safe enough that they can trust me to have that
Mm.
emotion at the table with me.
You know, that's a thing,
Yeah,
you know, and we talk a lot
that's the
about the
thing.
community, and we talk a lot about how magical it is being there in the sort of the intangible, and in sort of, you can't really describe why you want to be there. And
Yeah,
I mean, you know, you want to be there, you want to go to a castle, play D&D, do D&D in a castle, all the things, but it's more than that, right? It's more than that. It's really a kind of a profound experience being with your people in your community, with like just joy and play and safety. And safety is such a big part of it, and such a big part of what we have worked so hard to create. And that the dungeon masters we choose, like yourself, are people who are invested in that, and who understand the value of that, and really have committed their lives to creating safe spaces. And that's part of who they are.
yeah.
um
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. I think that's, and it's, you know, that's it ought to be that everywhere. Like the slogan that everyone can play at my table. It's like, yes, however, will everyone? And so you want to make
Yeah.
sure that everyone will, right?
Hmm.
And I think that yeah, I am very much kind of like, you know, I'll make my kind of opinions. I'll make my sort of set. These are the rules of my table known right from the start. You know, no hate, no. Everyone has the right to an opinion. You don't have a right to freedom of consequence. So it's kind of
Right.
like that, you know, like, so I think that's the best way to kind of put it, is like, you know, just if you don't agree with something, then that's fine. But you're at the group table, and that's the way that it's going to be. So yeah, it's been good. I like it. I have a really good time My groups have always been good. I haven't had a problem.
Yeah, your groups
So, like,
always are good, Tim. You must attract
yeah,
the good folk somehow.
yeah, I know,
I mean,
right?
at D&D the Castle, they're all good folk. Like, I don't know.
They are. No,
The
I
people who
know.
come are passionate and committed to the game. And what I love about
Yeah,
the game is, as you say, there people can have different opinions, and you don't necessarily even know who you're sitting across from in terms of their political affiliations or their
yeah,
views or whatever. You're there for the game, and it's
yeah,
a way to bridge. It's almost like a bridging, like you're all invested in the same game, and that's the unifying concept, is the game itself, and you're
yeah,
more committed to the game in those moments, and that's what matters. And it forces us to be able to set those things aside and work together, and I think that that's really powerful.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I agree. That's a yeah, much more articulate than what I said. Yeah, no,
Well, you
it's fun. Like
It's a lot of fun. Well, you know what? Fun
I
is
like it.
powerful, and I believe in that. And that's kind of why I'm here, because I believe that fun is powerful, and I believe it's a powerful force,
Yeah,
and one that's
and I
not
mean
often tapped into.
no,
Um,
that's what all my games should be. That's kind of like the number one rule of my tables. Like, if
you
the
got to have fun,
rules,
and
quote unquote, won't say that it will work, we'll find a way to make it work. Because I mean, that's the other thing. That's the other kind of benefit about the castle games. We're there for a limited time.
mhm,
We know that we have an end. We have an end time.
to
Like,
get to
you cannot play this character with this group in that
beyond.
space beyond that time, right? So knowing your kind of goals for your character, and making sure that they understand as players that you can change that if you want to. Just let me know and we'll make it happen. That's a powerful thing in a game that doesn't normally happen. It's one of the reasons why the games are
Mhm.
so unique, is because you have the set limit, you have a set time frame, you have a set sort of specific parameters around the character and the game. So in order for that to work, like, you might take that character. I've got one player who took his character. He either, how do I remember this now? He either play tests at the castle and then takes the character out and puts it into other scenarios, or he'll find characters and then bring it in. But he's
Mhm.
got one that he's played at my tables, and he's now playing it in other groups. And hearing the way that character interacts in the other groups makes me giggle, because I have a more intimate knowledge of that
Right.
character than somebody who's just hearing the story about the grandma barbarian for the first time, right? So yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, yeah.
And so you have players that come back to play with you.
I have players that come back. That is really flattering. As a DM, that's one of those things that's like, yeah, it's really flattering. It's flattering to have somebody, consider you worth their time as a storyteller, to be like, yeah, I want to play with you again. Especially when there's like such an epic sort of collection of dungeon masters at that event, at all the events. It's wild to be like, yeah, I choose you. I feel like I'm Ralph in the choo choo train card. I choose you, and it's yeah, it's
Yeah, you
great.
said you've mentioned James Introcaso as that's the
Yeah,
James we were talking about earlier, currently at MCDM, and previous contributor of many things. I couldn't begin to
oh my god,
describe
yeah.
all James's achievements, but also who are some of the other DMs that you've? James is also another OG crew. He was at their very
James,
first event.
yeah, James, and Elisa had intimate friendship building at that first castle event. It
There
was
was some interesting sleeping arrangements going
yeah,
on.
James and I had to end up sharing a queen bed, and we were kind of like outside of Elisa's. It was just such a bizarre setup. They were not ready for us. We made the best of it, and it was lots of fun. It was really good. Like, zero complaints, just wild scenarios. So yeah, myself, James, and Elisa, the three of us have remained really good friends. I get to see Lisa almost every year. And then I've met B. Dave Walters, and I get to consider him a friend now. And like I said, Matt Allen, I played with him last year, and then I talk to him on a regular basis online. It's wild for me, who still has to challenge my own imposter syndrome to be considered in the kind of like the echelons of people like that. Even like, you know, Jeremy Crawford is a friend, you know, like that's wild. To just that sentence just makes me kind of like, again, like sitting in the courtyard of the castle, like, you know, like it's crazy. It's crazy. It's very, very cool. Very cool though.
And we have some comments here. I'm just going to read them
Ooh,
in the chat. Also, if you have any comments or any questions for either Tim or for me about the castle, about Tim's game, about anything about D&D in general,
I will
I'll just
try
read
and
out
answer
these.
some questions about the game. I'm just trying to keep it as like
No. Yeah. We won't spoiler anything, but such a great idea to play / move in the castle. Yeah, I know you do that a lot. Like people are their own minis in Space It
you
Out.
become your own mini. Like there's that hallway of heads. You can see a post of it. It's one of my favorite pictures I took at the castle with Chris, where we kind of fit our heads in with the other statue heads. God, I love that photo. The flagstones on the hallway are about a foot.
So they're good measuring.
They're perfect. So literally you stand in your 5-foot square and the whole hallway and then the staircase that spirals up around it becomes the scenario. And it's complete with, like, we even had a situation where one of the characters couldn't fight around a pillar that was in the middle of the hallway. And it's like, I can't see. Well, then you can't see.
Then you can't see.
Like,
this is real.
This is what it's like when you see that post in the middle of the room, and why the DM is like, you can't look around that. Like, yeah, no, it's really cool. Yeah, sorry, I'll digress. What's the comments? What's the questions? Hit us.
They're all comments so far. This is from Jason. Tim was my first GM at D&D in a castle, and his game is something I'll remember forever. We were a crying table.
Hi, Jason. He was a crying table. Jason's also the barbarian grandma, which is
that's the barbarian grandma. Love it.
One of the barbarian multiple characters that I love.
Christopher Lamb says, had a wonderful time at the castle last year, and one memorable moment was having a drink with GM Tim in the library bar. He was so welcoming, and I hope to play at his table at some point in the future. Oh,
Chronicle mode.
Yeah, Chronicle mode, except it's full, so we're gonna have to have you again.
I mean 2025 spring.
2025, we're it's already coming up. So if you want to get in on the possibility of playing with GM Tim when he is back at the castle next, you should get a deposit for D&D in a castle. You also save $100 on registration if you book a deposit, and then you get advance access to all events, to all DMs, to everything with that deposit in the coming year. So, and it's fully refundable, so zero risk. Definitely worth getting a deposit at dndandacastle.com. I want to hear, okay, not about the content of your game. Do you think, so there were actually, let's take a second to talk about Chronicle mode. So we started with Chronicle mode with one of our homegrown I won't say homegrown dungeon masters, who's been dungeon mastering for decades, which is Chris Hately, who is running.
We made him better.
He's been at the castle since almost the beginning as well. He kind of snuck his way into the castle and has been like infiltrating us for some time now, but we love him, and he's a great DM. He has been running one shots for us for a while, and last event at Lumley in the spring, he ran the youth table, which was so amazing. They were that was a significant game. That was an intense game, and it wasn't just youth. There were people who joined that table because they were interested in the game, and they weren't even youth. So super fun DM. And so he's coming back to run the first Chronicle mode. We were actually at the castle when he said, I've always been interested in running a game where you played in a different edition each day. And we were like, we've been looking for a concept to celebrate 50 years of D&D. And so we were like, let us talk more about that, Chris. So we developed that with him, and he became our first Chronicle mode 50th anniversary Chronicles dungeon master for this double round. And it was so popular, people were so into the idea of playing one game, that we're like, we need another one. So who can we call who we think has the chops to handle that kind of thing, where like it's going to have to be broad and big, and we're like, that's GM Tim all over, let's call him up. So now we've actually got 2 Chronicle mode tables happening simultaneously at this event. Do you think Do you think that you and Chris will engage in some crossovers?
Oh, so okay. I will say we have definitely heartily considered it.
Heartily considered it without
Heartily
further.
considered it. Yeah.
Heartily considered it.
Yeah, it is something we both really like the idea of. It'll be a matter of like, can we mix?
It would be funny if you did a joint thing because they would be in a different edition. So when they
Yeah,
the
that's what we're
rules
trying to figure out.
apply when there are
So,
people playing. This
so
could get
as-
really complicated. I don't know.
yeah, one person using THACO and somebody else using AC. So we had the idea. We like the idea. We want to do the idea. Whether or not we can logistic the idea has become the next kind of question. So it's definitely, like I said, heartily considered it.
Okay, it's a definite maybe. Definite maybe.
It is a hard maybe. Yeah, I'd say it's a hard yeah maybe. You know,
So Tim, speaking of your imposter syndrome, which is
Yeah.
unjustified, but that's the point of imposter syndrome. You have been DMing for a long time. You are involved in a lot of conventions and live shows. You were doing Dungeons and Drag Queens for a while, which is super fun.
Yeah, a group called
What are
Fierce
you involved? What are you doing now? What are you up to now?
So we're still trying to find a venue for that. Vancouver has changed, like many things, since lockdowns kind of reopened. Things are more expensive and not as easy to get bookings for spaces anymore for kind of like random events. So that one unfortunately took a back seat. But all the queens and I still stay in touch, and we still want to do it again because that would be epic if we could kick that back off. That's actually an idea that was born from a friend of mine in Seattle, and a conversation at the first castle was, could we make this happen? And so I tried it when I got back from that first castle. But what else am I doing? So I have all my Timspiration projects. So like my book club that I've got going, fantasy and sci-fi book club, to kind of give you inspiration for your gaming. DM Neil and I from DM's Block, he was at the first castle as a guest. And that's actually where we met and became instant friends. He and I have kind of started a watch party movie club, if you will, where we're basically both the book and the movies. It's to take ideas and inspiration from things that you kind of watch and read all the time, and that might give you new ideas to apply to your games. So we don't give them stars, we give them like dice ratings, like a D4 is just as important to have in your set. You just might not use it as much, you know? So that's how we kind of apply that. That way nothing's well, I didn't like it, and it doesn't matter. Can you
doesn't
use
matter.
it?
Is there something, how does it fit?
Exactly. Yeah. And so we're doing those. And then I've got my new Star Trek season, Star Trek Lost Voyages. I have assembled a new crew. And sort of our reboot will be coming soon. That's the most I can say because we haven't been able to like nail down filming dates. Man, people are busy all of a sudden when they have everything to do, you know?
Everything when life comes back. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the big things. If you want to play with me for like not D&D, I play Star Trek Online every second Friday, and I play with a group of friends, and it's lots of fun. And if you want to play,
and where can they find that? Is that on Twitch? Is that on
all of it? Well, so the stream is on Twitch, but everything that I do goes right through our website, thegmtim.ca.
gmtim.ca if you want to find out Tim, find him, follow him.
Yep, and then the GM Tim on Instagram and the GM Tim on Discord, the GM Tim everywhere that you'll find me. I don't have Twitter and I don't have Facebook, so it's mostly Instagram and Twitch, YouTube. It's all the GM Tim. And yeah, I enjoy just kind of like doing things to give people inspiration for their games. I even do that in the middle of the castles. I will get permission and then actively screw with the other DMs. In the middle of their games, if I'm not running one of mine, I'll actually go and like hand stuff off to mess with the DM, or I'll try and find ways to like mess with players for the DM. It's wild. So
You're just a disruptor, Tim.
I am a disruptor.
You're a disruptor at heart. You can't help yourself.
I am a true force of chaos. If I were a dragon, I'd probably be brass. Like it'd be like, yeah, I enjoy kind of like the wild chaos of things. I enjoy that we do a thing. I enjoy that we do a thing that brings joy, that can teach, that can heal, that can help, and that can just be fun, and it can do it all in the matter of like an hour, right? Like I love that. It is so unique, and if I can find ways to help others do that, then I will. And like again, with permission, I will never like walk into a DM's room and be like, guess who's here? Like, no, like that's not what I mean. But like if I can find ways to give you watching, hey, come read my books with me and we'll talk about it. And you might go, oh my God, this is such a good idea for a character. Then that's exactly what I want to do. So yeah, come join me on my quests.
Awesome. Well, if you're interested in GM Tim as a dungeon master at D&D in a Castle, his existing table is sold out, but if you want to request him for a future event, you can find him on our list of dungeon masters at dndinacastle.com and click on the dungeon masters. And there's a button on his page. You can read all about him on his page. There's a button on his page saying request this dungeon master for future events. So you can let us know that you want to come and play with GM Tim at a future event. And if Chronicle mode in general sounds good to you, there are a couple spaces left in the other Chronicle mode game, the one I described, this coming fall at D&D in a Castle at Lumley Castle in the UK, October, November. So, and Tim will be there, and he will definitely come and have a drink with you in the library bar, I believe. I don't think that I'm speaking out of turn to say that.
No, I'm not drinking as much as I used to, but I'm definitely still going to the library bar at nights. I think
and hanging out.
Yeah, the last castle. Oh my God, I think I still have the video for that. James and who was I with? It was myself, James, and I cannot remember. We did a BS walkthrough of the castle making. Oh, you're muted, Mark. You're muted, John.
He was trying to answer a question.
And Mark Muir.
Yeah. Mark, we did like a BS walkthrough, making like this is who this is, and just making stuff up as we go. Man, I've got to find that clip because it was good.
That would be so much fun to share.
Yeah.
If you find it, send it to us. We'll post it. It would be so much fun to share.
Like I said, Chaos Monkey, and if you want to be a Chaos Monkey with me, please sign up.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Tim. We're gonna lead out with another exciting video showcasing the experience of D&D in a Castle, and we can't wait to see you at the castle, Tim. And to the rest of you, I hope you'll join us at a castle soon, and it's been great chatting with you.
Tim Inspiration for your tables.